Hello. Hello. And welcome to our service. We are the Rogue Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, or as we like to say, RVUUF, in Ashland, Oregon. My name is Suzanne Anderson, and it is so important to me to be a member of RVUUF because it means being a part of a beloved community where we share common values. As a member of the anti-racism study group, I strive to put our values into action. For example, we work to understand the systems that perpetuate racism and oppression. How would you put your values into action? Please come talk to us, one of us today, after the service. We are so happy to welcome you to our service, both online and in person. We want to especially thank the members of the stream team who are helping make the online service happen, and the members of the neighborhood team who welcome the on-site congregation. If you are a newcomer, we invite you to sign up for our mailing list on RVUUF.org. You will receive a weekly email that gives you all the information you need to make your decisions about whether you like to join us on a Sunday morning, on site, or online. You will always learn about other great things going to the RVUUF site. We are so glad to have you with us for this service, and we invite you to join us in our mission: embracing diversity, empowering connection, and engaging in the work. We begin each service by acknowledging that our building is built on the land that began as the home of the Cow Creek Umpqua, the Tacoma, Shasta, and Lagawa people. We remind ourselves that Indigenous people are part of our communities and continue to experience the effects of colonization. We are committed to fighting for the worth and dignity of Indigenous people, both in our community and around the world. We are also committed to work for a world in which the lives, work, bodies, dreams, and leadership of Black people are honored and respected. We do all this by putting our words, values, and principles into action every day for justice and the common good. These services are part of that work. Welcome, and thank you for being with us. There are two announcements this morning. First, on May 14th, we will be saying goodbye and best wishes to our intern minister, Kiana Dene, when she is here in town for the last time. Katie Fox will be in the foyer next week after the Sunday service, and if you would like to contribute with a cash gift, towards the cash gift, you may do that then. Secondly, we would like to invite you to come to the gallery over here after the service today during coffee hour to meet our featured artist, Marilyn Thompson. She's a UU member here at RVUUF who just recently relocated to Ashland from Texas with her family. We are so pleased to feature Marilyn as our guest artist in our gallery, which is open again after being closed for 3 years. Remember to read her bio, which is up on the wall too. It's very interesting. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Patricia Burkhart, and it is my pleasure and privilege to serve as your worship leader this morning at RVUUF today, and to add my welcome to Suzanne's. I'm so glad you're with us this morning. We light our chalice, symbol of Unitarian Universalism, to the prayer for living intention by the Reverend Joseph M. Cherry. If we have any hope of transforming the world and changing ourselves, we must be bold enough to move into discomfort, brave enough to be clumsy there, loving enough to forgive ourselves and others. May we, as a people of faith, be granted the strength to be so bold, so brave, and so loving.
This morning's order of worship has a few mistakes, shall we say. Yeah. Just some numbers have been rearranged. So the opening song that we're going to sing in a moment is number 153 in your gray hymnal. It's I Woke Up This Morning. This is 153. This is a call and response in which the sopranos are going to lead out the first line of each phrase, and the congregation responds. So let us rise in body or spirit and join in enthusiastically. 153, I woke up this morning. Oh, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. I was walking and talking with my mind stayed on freedom. Walking and talking with my mind, and it was stay on freedom. Walking and talking with my mind, and it was stay on freedom. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. I was singing and praying with my mind, and it was stay on freedom. Singing and praying with my mind, it was stay on freedom. Singing and praying with my mind, it was stay on freedom. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, I woke up this morning with my mind, it was stay on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind, it was stay on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind, it was stay on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah,
Good morning. I'm Stephen Conklin, and I'm with Rosalie Wolf. And we are here this morning representing the anti-racism study group here at RVUUF. We light this candle today in acknowledgement of the continuing trauma of the white supremacy culture in the United States and the complicity in that trauma if we are not actively engaged in changing that culture. As Unitarian Universalists, we declare each week our dedication to creating a world in which the lives, hopes, and leadership of Black people are acknowledged and valued. We talk of building the beloved community, a community in which all souls are welcomed as blessings and the human family lives whole and reconciled.
It has become our practice to light a candle each week for peace. We take this moment to call to mind our commitment to peace of mind, peace in our homes, peace in our communities, and peace in the world. Today's words are from the autobiography of Lao Tzu. If there is to be peace in the world, there must be peace in the nations. If there is peace in the nations, there must be peace in the cities. If there is to be peace in the cities, there must be peace between neighbors. If there is to be peace between neighbors, there must be peace in the home. If there is peace to be in the home, there must be peace in our heart.
Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom.
Good morning. My name is Marika Moyman, and I am a member of the Anti-Racism Study Group here. This morning's children's story, which definitely is also for grown-ups today, is called Anti-Racist Baby. It is written by Ibram X. Kendi and illustrated by Ashley Lukashevsky. Anti-racist baby is bred, not born. Anti-racist baby is raised to make society transform. Babies are taught to be racist or anti-racist. There's no neutrality. Take these 9 steps to make equity a reality. 1. Open your eyes to all skin colors. Anti-racist baby learns all the colors, not because race is true. If you claim to be colorblind, you deny what's right in front of you. 2, use your words to talk about race. No one will see racism if we only stay silent. If we don't name racism, it won't stop being so violent. 3, point at policies as the problem, not people. Some people get more, while others get less, because policies don't always grant equal access. 4, shout, there's nothing wrong with the people. Even though all races are not treated the same, we are all human, anti-racist baby can proclaim. 5, celebrate all our differences. Anti-racist baby doesn't see certain groups as better or worse. Anti-racist baby loves a world that's truly diverse. 6, knock down the stack of cultural blocks. Anti-racist baby appreciates how groups speak, dance, and create as they choose. Anti-racist baby welcomes all groups, voicing their unique views. 7, confess when being racist. Nothing disrupts racism more than when we confess the racist ideas that we sometimes express. 8, grow to be anti-racist. Anti-racist baby is always learning, changing, and growing. Anti-racist baby stays curious about all people and isn't all-knowing. 9, believe we shall overcome racism. Anti-racist baby is filled with the power to transcend, my friend, and doesn't judge a book by its cover, but reads until the end.
My name is Stephen Conklin, and I've been a member of RVUUF since 2009 when my partner John and I joined together. We were part of the congregation as a couple. We were drawn here by the overwhelming welcoming and love that we experienced. One of our goals was to be married. In California, there was a barrier to that known as Proposition 8. We complained to members here, don't ever do that. This is a solution-oriented congregation. As a result of our connections, love, and encouragement here, in 2009, we traveled to Canada and got married. That was part of our journey since coming to RVUUF. The journey continues upon the path of love and inclusion. I'm a member of the anti-racist study group here at RVUUF. I joined believing that I could help people overcome their racism and other forms that hatred tends to take. However, I became aware that the work was with myself and deals with the internal white supremacist baggage that I had accumulated from being a member of our culture. Indeed, this work is a component of my spiritual path. Spiritual evolution for me involves love and inclusion of all human beings, my fellow human beings. The greatest prophet of India teaches that spiritually evolved people see themselves in all and all in them. During my journey on this path of anti-racism, I discovered that the suitcase I had packed for trekking along the path was rather heavy. As more information and revelations were being added from our studies together, it finally opened, spilling contents everywhere. A traveler's nightmare. But picking through the debris has been an essential part of the journey. For instance, I'm discovering the preconceived notions that are not loving and including, subtle forms of othering from the ego process of duality, expressing itself as we and they, when the reality of love is us. It's a welcoming journey, and I invite you to join us in our studies here at RVUUF and challenge yourself as we further develop our beloved community. So thank you.
Our centering music is in your teal hymnal. It is We Begin Again in Love. The number is 1037. You may not even need the teal book. Your response in between each of the verses is, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For remaining silent when a single voice would have made a difference. We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time that our fears have made us rigid and inaccessible, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time we have struck out in anger without just cause, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time that our greed has blinded us to the needs of others, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For the selfishness that sets us apart and alone, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For falling short of the admonitions of the Spirit, we begin ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For losing sight of our unity, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For these and for so many acts both evident and subtle, which have fueled the illusion of separateness. We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
This year, the Anti-Racism Study Group at RVUUF is reading Mistakes and Miracles, Congregations on the Road to Multiculturalism by Nancy Palmer Jones and Karen Lynn. Their introduction includes a definition of white supremacy culture presented by Aisha Usher, Christine Rivera, and Kenny Riley for their UU White Supremacy Teach-Ins in the 2007. I'd like to share this with you. The term white supremacy culture is a catch-all phrase to describe the set of institutional assumptions and practices, often operating unconsciously, that tend to benefit white people and exclude people of color.
Good morning. I'm Roger Howe, a member of the Anti-Racist Study Group. Why do I choose to be an anti-racist? At 16, I began applying to colleges. My mother called Reed College. My parents both graduated there. Reed offered to admit me and provide a full scholarship based on my parents' academic performance. I didn't apply. I didn't want to go to a college based on what anyone other than me had done. I went to Pomona College, where I was admitted based on my academic history and my SAT scores. At the time, this choice may have been an act of hubris or of rebellion, but in retrospect, it seems iconic of who I was. In due time, I went to medical school. During my medical training, my life changed. Becoming a caregiver was a good match for who I was. It resulted in a very satisfying and meaningful career. My ideas and ethics developed during my adulthood. Individualistic ideas of my childhood morphed into the ethics of community in my adulthood. Then, at age 70 or so, after I had retired, I finally understood how poorly the ethnicity and gender balance of my medical school matched the California population. Less than 10% of my class were female, and less than 5% were Black or other people of color. California was over 40% minority ethnics at that time, including a predominance of Hispanics, but also large communities of Chinese, Japanese, and South Asians. Where were all these people in my medical school class? And, more to the point, where were the 50% of the class that should have been female? At the time, I dismissed the disparity as reflecting the personal preferences of those underrepresented people. Later, I began to realize that those personal preferences might have been based on incorrect or skewed perceptions of who they could become. Women mostly became nurses. Men became physicians. There came a moment when I saw the change in what women were doing and realized that my idea was completely mistaken. I have no idea how many men or women or people of color applied to my medical school, but it seemed clear that women had only needed encouragement and permission to grow to be over 50% of the matriculating classes of most U.S. medical schools today. If all those women had applied and been considered equally to men for admission, I might well not have been admitted to medical school. My life would have been quite different from what it was. Being true of women, this would certainly also be true for the other ethnicities represented in California. I was a member of a minority gender ethnicity. White men deserved only a minority quota of positions in that class, not the 90% or so position that we actually occupied. What creates the gap between what ought to be and what is? How can I change our society so that my grandchildren don't awaken in their 70s to realize that they have been living a lie the way I did? I realize how subtle this all is when seen from the viewpoint of the advantaged, and yet how obvious and frustrating it must be when seen from the viewpoint of the disadvantaged. The only way I know to make amends to those injured so that I could prosper is to help undo the system now. Through my work with the anti-racism group, I have discovered that the white supremacy culture is alive and well inside me and manifests in how I talk and how I behave. It is invisible to me, but I benefit from having others help me to see. I cannot do this job alone. The work begins in me, then can extend to helping others. I do not expect it to be quick or painless, but it is a torch I bear willingly. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Kate Cleland Sipfley. Where I grew up was an upstate New York county twice the size of Rhode Island. We had only about 100,000 residents. Nearly all of us were white. In the 5th grade, a black child I'll call Donnie joined our class. By afternoon, Donnie was trading headstands on the playground with a boy I'll call Dougie. I didn't befriend boys much at that age, but I liked seeing Donnie and Dougie together. The next day, no Donnie. He never returned. Years later, after learning more about how non-white people have been treated in American society, by both individuals and institutions, I realized that Donnie's family might have been threatened, denied a mortgage, denied employment, or otherwise barred from living in that humble little community, a place with no formal, no legal segregation. Maybe not, I'll never know. My family watched and trusted CBS News on TV, where we saw the violence of avowed white supremacists, some of them police, attacking peaceful civil rights demonstrators. I thought white supremacy was a belief held by bad people. And as for the system, that, thank heavens, was being changed to one of equality before the law in the Deep South, something I thought we already had everywhere else. Well, I was wrong about all that. I got mixed messages about race from my family and community. I had a lot to learn, and I can never learn enough. I'm a little way along this path of learning and changing, partly due to the RVUUF Anti-Racism Study Group. I do not recall hearing white supremacy applied to institutional structures in American culture, as in white supremacy culture, until the Unitarian Universalist Association made dismantling it a priority. I first learned about this at a summer dinner party after Roger Best and Marcia Sandler had returned from the annual Unitarian Universalist General Assembly, our biggest conference. It was in New Orleans that year, 2017, and Roger and Marcia told us about it. This is just one of the ways information flows in the UU community, from the annual conference to the people in local congregations through our delegates and others who attended. We are free to choose to commit to working on issues identified by the UUA or not, but they are nearly always major initiatives in social or environmental justice, and we often do. In fact, Roger and Marcia led the move to display a Black Lives Matter banner here at RVUUF shortly after General Assembly 2017. A couple of years later, other RVUUF people began the Anti-Racism Study Group. The membership has changed over the past 4 years. I joined the second year. We are a group of white people who help each other learn from readings and life experience while we process our feelings, be they confused, defensive, guilty, inadequate, questioning, or other, as we consider institutional structures, including some very close to home, that maintain white privilege in our communities, and we talk about how we might help change that. We want to do more than just talk about it, and we want to share more of this work with others at RVUUF. Everyone in the group has read Robin DiAngelo's book, White Fragility, which addresses white people's discomfort with talking about race head on. Every year, the Unitarian Universalist Association, UUA, recommends a different book having to do with UU principles. They call it a common read. This is for study in UU congregations, and some of these relate to anti-racism. Congregations are free to adopt the common read or not. Our anti-racism group at RVUUF studies this year's common read, Mistakes and Miracles. It's the book Stephen mentioned. It treats common threads that bring diverse UUs together and tells of the experiences of several congregations taking steps in anti-racism, along with the setbacks and positive changes that have happened, hence the title. There is a display on the back table today of the books the RVUUF Anti-Racism Group has studied, and you will find copies of most of them available to borrow in our library, the RVUUF Library. I hope you will have a chance to look at them. Thank you.
Hello again. I want to tell you about 3 aha moments of clarity that I have had in the last 3 years as a member of the Anti-Racist Study Group. The first moment came on page 2 of the introduction to White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. She says, in our culture, white children are taught that they have superior status. This superiority feels normal to us because it's part of our culture. The question of why we are superior is rarely asked. When the subject of race comes up, a white fragility surfaces. The mere suggestion that being white has meaning triggers defensive responses such as anger, fear, guilt, and just wanting to drop the subject quickly. Aha! When I read about this defensiveness, I could feel it in my body. It's like a clenching when the subject of racism comes up. And I immediately want to say, I'm not racist. I'm one of the good ones. Well, I obviously had a lot to learn, but just having this uncomfortable feeling named was just eye-opening, and it felt like a relief. The second moment of clarity happened, and I've had more moments than this. I just wanted to share 3 with you. But the second moment has to do with when I was telling someone I knew about the Anti-Racist Study Group and what I was doing. And the question came back, well, what about D? He had a tough life. And yes, D got the short end of the stick, to be sure. When he was 10, his mother's bipolar illness erupted in a very psychotic and paranoid way. She medicated herself with gin and grapefruit juice. His father died the summer before Dee's senior year in high school. Until about the age of 30, Dee did display a bit of an attitude problem. He received 2 drinking while intoxicated citations and lost his license for 3 months each time. He was stopped frequently by police for various reasons. He was the victim of a brutal beating outside a local bar. After the beating, he was told by police that he couldn't file an assault charge or complaint because he didn't know the name of the assailant. They suggested that he go to the emergency room. After that, Dee made a decision. He cut his hair and he started paying attention to the rules. He got his GED. The police stopped bothering him. Having black skin is what makes black people a target. Think of Trayvon Martin, a teenager who was visiting his father's fiancée in a gated community. A neighborhood watch group member saw him as a threat and shot and killed him. So yes, Dee did have a rough time, but he had the choice to change the negative behavior in order to improve his life. The negative behaviors that got the attention of others. Trayvon Martin was a victim only because his skin was black. He was just being a teen. My third moment of clarity came when I was reading the book, The Warmth of Other Suns by Elizabeth Wilkerson. This had to do with the question I heard often of, why should black people get reparations? Whites have it hard too. The civil rights movement has happened. We even had a black president. Wilkerson described an incident that occurred in 1919 in northern Florida. A white woman's chicken went missing. The local white crowd at the neighborhood bar decided they knew who stole the chicken. a black man named Sam. They planned to lynch Sam to teach him and others a lesson. Fortunately, Sam's neighbors overheard the plan and they ran to warn him. Sam left his house and hid in the woods that night. The white crowd never found him. The next day, the white woman found her chicken. She forgot to lock it in the coop. During the 4 years of the previous administration, I had a real fear and anxiety every day that I'd never felt before. But I never thought that I would be the victim of mob violence or a lynching. I take for granted a basic level of safety. That is a huge advantage for me and other white people. There is no basic level of safety for Black Americans. A traffic stop can mean death. Just recently, a Black man who was out running, exercising in a white neighborhood, was followed and gunned down by vigilantes who decided he was a threat. I don't worry that a traffic stop will lead to my death. If my car is thought to have been part of a crime, I know I will be listened to. I feel safe at home. Aha, that is huge difference. Amen, 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 ashe, and blessed be.
I'm a little lost. Okay. I'm still lost. I'm so sorry. I know that. I'm just trying to find, it says. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Pat took the pages, so now I'm very lost. Okay. Each week, I almost could say them from memory, but I don't trust myself. Each week, we take an offering to support the mission and the work of our congregation. Your generosity provides the vast majority of the financial support for the programs, services, outreach, and staffing of our congregation. Your giving is immediately put to work putting our principles into action in our community and beyond. If you are joining us online, you can give in one of several ways. You can mail a check to 87 4th Street, Ashland, Oregon, 09752. You can also go to tinyurl.com/roof offering and follow the instructions there. Or you can text a $sign and the amount you'd like to donate to 541-229-4229. If you need support, please contact Reverend Sean using the form on roof.org. We will do our best to help. We will now receive the morning offering. for these gifts and all the gifts that you bring to this community and into this world. Thank you.
Our closing hymn this morning is in your gray hymnal. It's number 148, and the title is Let Freedom Span Both East and West. This is based on a traditional spiritual. It was arranged by Harry T. Burleigh. Burleigh was an American black composer who was born in 1866. 30 years earlier, his grandfather bought his freedom for himself and his wife for $55 and moved north, where they raised their family. Harry was an amazing musician and had a remarkable life. I encourage you to read his bio on Wikipedia. But one of his major contributions to American music was to arrange many of the traditional spirituals that he had learned as a child for solo voice, for concert performance, and for choirs, in order to bring this music to a wider audience and to make sure that it never got lost. Let's rise in body or spirit as we sing number 148.
Good morning. The sun is out. I'm Jim Meckel, and I'm part of the Anti-Racism Study Group. We close today with the Reverend Bill Sinkford's closing from the interim co-president's report to Justice General Assembly in 2017. The final message we would pass on is a message of hope. There is a reason that people of color have become Unitarian Universalists from the very beginnings of this faith and still today. There is a fundamental hope in our values and our aspirations that speaks to persons across the boundaries of race and culture, language, and economic circumstance and ability. It is the empowerment in our Unitarian legacy and the love of our Universalist promise that draw people to us and keep us here. It is our culture and not our theology that has been our biggest obstacle. And because that is true, our final message is a message of hope. We can change our culture if we have the will to do it.